All right then. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is day 23 of Startup September, session number 3 of the day. And for those of you who are new here, Startup September is a month-long celebration of the startup ecosystem by the startup ecosystem. And as Headstart is entering its 15th year, we couldn't have thought of a better way to celebrate this milestone, and hence Startup September. I'm excited for the session today, and without further ado, I would like to hand it over to Shashank, who will be moderating the panel on sustainable fashion and lifestyle brand.
Yeah, thank you. So we'll start with my introduction. So I've been into sustainable fashion for some time now. So I've founded a footwear company called Myrtle.in, wherein we make modular footwear. You get a single sole, you can pick up multiple straps and change them yourself. We took a hit when, with the onset of COVID, we kind of faced a lot of challenges with cash flows. And that is when my wife and I, we decided that I take up a job. Now I work for Open Financial Technologies and my wife is managing the company. But this is one way that, I feel happy being or knowing about other fashion brands and doing, sustainable fashion brands and doing my part for the ecosystem. Right. So to start, firstly, thank you, Prateek, for us, Bindu and Isha for accepting the invite. And so to start, we'll start with Bindu. Bindu, I want to understand as a consumer, what is it that you look in a sustainable fashion brand, or what actually was the inspiration behind you starting a sustainable community / how did you transition from being a consumer to a sustainable consumer?
Okay, so hi, I'm Bindu Chandana. I'm a conservation architect by profession, and I'm passionate about sustainable lifestyle and sustainable alternatives. And I have been practicing this since last few years. So I would say what exactly sustainable fashion means to me is basically if there is any product which it should have a very less impact on the earth during its lifespan. And then I would also say that sustainable fashion is an conscious choice which has to be made by the individual as a whole. And if we see as a consumer, the major thing I would prefer while selecting a brand or any product is first is the durability, like how long it is going to sustain, and what kind of materials they use, and what is the brand's philosophy as well. Even that is important while selecting a product. And you have also asked about the transition stage. So I would say I began by becoming more aware of my consumption while learning more about the environmental implications. And previously, when I'm not into a sustainable lifestyle changes, when I had to visit a shopping arena, I definitely had to buy any product and take back home and pile it up. But when I started becoming more aware of my consumption, it is more like I have few questions in my mind while selecting a product or buying a product. The first one would be, do I really need it? And the second one would be where it is from, what kind of material it is made of, and how the workers have been treated while making this product. Even that is also an important thing. uh, and the life cycle of the product, and once the cycle is done, how the product would be decomposed, or the disposal pattern of the product. Even that is important, I would say. uh, and so I drastically changed and cut down my purchases, and then I also reduced the amount of. I feel that I have reduced the negative impact on the earth, uh, which which is true in my perception. And because even an individual single change give a very much impact on the earth. most of the people believe that if I change, there is no substantial action would be gonna happen on the earth. But that is not true. Even a single person change, it makes a great deal. So yeah, that one I can say.
But so my next question would be to Isha. I follow your work on Instagram, and wherein you say you talk about Indian art and heritage and stuff. So Bindu was just pointing out she buys stuff, and the first question she asks is it really needed? But when you see an art material or something, you don't actually need them, right? So how do you go about it? Or you can also just reflect on your journey from an influencer to an exfluencer also.
Right. Hello, good evening to all of you, and thank you so much, Shashank, for inviting me here. So as Shashank...
Isha, you didn't start with your signature Adab.
Yeah, actually, because I thought that it'll probably shock everyone, and
No.
so sometimes I have to
We
adapt.
miss that.
Yeah. So the thing is that I started my Instagram page, which is called Desi Drapes, somewhere towards the end of 2016, but I wasn't using it very actively until April of 2017. It was around April that I started using Desi Drapes, the Instagram page, very actively, and I started posting regularly. At that time, Instagram was not this crowded, and even the algorithm was not this difficult to crack as it is now. The word influencer had not yet become common, and so Instagram was sort of promoting accounts organically, and my account also grew organically. When it started growing, I started getting a lot of offers from different kind of businesses, primarily in the segment of Indian wear and saris, etc. So I took up those offers, and mostly they were barter offers. So they would give me a product, and I was supposed to wear it, take pictures, share those pictures on my page, and write something about the business, etc. So I started doing this, and I can't say that I wasn't choosy right from the beginning, because I was very particular about what I'm taking from a certain business and what is it that I'm promoting. But of course, there's a lot that you can't tell from the pictures, because all that you get to see when a business approaches you and says that we will send you a product is pictures, and you can ask them about a certain details, but there's not much that you get to know until and unless the product arrives. And once it arrives, then you have to do the needful, because you have accepted that offer. So this went on for about 2 years, and by the end of 2018, I was living in Mumbai during this time, and then I was supposed to move to a new place. And that's when I had to pack everything up, and I realized that I have amassed so much in these 2 years that it's beyond my capacity to manage it. It was, all of it was so beautiful that it was not easy to give all of it up or to just donate it, and I couldn't keep all of it, I couldn't carry all of it. So that was the first time that I started questioning this whole way of doing things. I did get to know that many bloggers in the same sphere as me were also doing closet sales, or they were selling off their the clothes that they have used and they no longer need to use, and that's a good thing. But somehow, to me, that looked very unmanageable, because that meant taking in orders and then packing those things up and then sending them away. So that looked like a humongous task to me. So this was the first time when I started questioning the way I was doing things. After that, I moved to Dubai, and Dubai. I have lived in Dubai twice in my life. So this is the second time that I'm living here. Before this, I was living here between 2012 and 13. I was a different person then, but of course, after so many years, when I moved back to Dubai, it just struck me how consumerist the whole place is, and how everything over here runs only on shopping. There is absolutely no regard for sustainability, even if that is being used as a catchphrase everywhere. And overall, everything that Dubai as a city does is actually unsustainable. And of course, this is a place which is all about shopping. So it's all about fashion and accessories and fashion consumption. And that whole thing, this whole culture sort of shocked me even more, that am I going to become a part of this? Am I going to do what everybody else is doing? And by this time, I had completely given up fast fashion, and I was only wearing Indian textiles and Indian traditional textiles, basically. So again, this whole thing made me question my choices even more. Gradually, the Fashion Revolution Week happened, and I read up a lot about it online. It happens in April every year. So I was to mark this whole tragedy called the Rana Plaza collapse. I'm sure most of you are aware of this. So this whole Fashion Revolution Week was going on, and during this time, I saw this documentary called True Cost, which was available on Netflix. And that completely changed things for me. I realized that as an influencer, even though I don't like that word right from the beginning, uh, I have a lot of responsibility. If I'm wearing new clothes every day and telling my followers or people who follow my work there that, okay, this is a lovely dress and you should buy this, then I am not promoting sustainability, even if I'm promoting Indian textiles and crafts, indigenous textiles and crafts, because overconsumption ultimately is going to harm the crafts also. So then I started taking an account, as Bindu here pointed out, that, taking an account of how much you're consuming is very important, because that's where it all begins. So I started counting how many barters was I actually taking in a month, and there was no count. So I reduced that. I started by reducing the number of products I was taking. Then by the end of 2019, I decided to completely stop promoting any businesses whatsoever, unless they come to me for some kind of a design based collaboration or a collaboration about creating some particular kind of content. I'm not going to simply take their product and just showcase it on my page. This also led to me thinking about how much content am I actually creating, because overconsumption and overproduction of content is also a problem in the online space. We are bombarding each other with so much content that, somewhere we are over consuming there, and then that is leading us to over, because we are so dissatisfied and unhappy with our lives after that, that it leads us to over consume other things as well. So I have now stopped posting completely. I post only when I have something really important to say, and I'm still rethinking my options of talking about sustainability online, because social media doesn't seem like the right platform for it, because it's all about, posting stories and reels and uh, God knows what. So if you're somebody who's really a proponent of slow life, sustainable life, then social media really is not the ideal space. So so I am in a bit of a fix, and I have been in a fix for about a year now. How much do I really want to use social media? Because it really does reach out to a lot of people, so your voice reaches so many people, but at the same time it requires you to be there and present all the time, that you miss out on your own personal space and time. So that's my journey from an influencer to an exfluencer, as I like to word it. Uh, Coming to what you said before asking me this question, which is that in art, nobody really needs art. So how do we actually decide what is it that we are going to buy? So I always say that it's important for us to become connoisseurs rather than mindless hoarders. So instead of just mindlessly buying and hoarding things, if we become conscientious connoisseurs, that we sort of examine everything that we are buying, and we start saving up resources, not just money, but also space in our homes. And we decide, okay, this is a craft, or this is a particular form of art that I want to promote, and I want to give it space in my home. So I'm going to save up for about 6 months, and I'm going to make space for it. I will identify the right artisans or artists, and then I'm going to acquire this, and I will make sure that it gets a beautiful space in my life, in my home, in my wardrobe, wherever, and then I use it always, and I take care of it. So if we do that, then we are definitely going to be sustainable, because all our crafts are inherently sustainable in nature, only if we consume them the right way and not just mindlessly hoard. So that's what I say about this. Yeah.
Right. So, like Isha was pointing out, consuming less is one way to, leading a sustainable life. But most of the audience here, they might be aspiring entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs who are interested in sustainable fashion. And for them, raking in the number of orders, earns their living at the end of the day. They might be practicing sustainably, but if more people not buy, then there's a problem. Cool. So we'll move to Paras. Hey Paras, hi. So Paras is founder of Doodlage, and Paras has worked for big brands like Jones, Lang, LaSalle. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that.
You can call it JLL. That's okay.
Okay, JLL. He worked for JLL, and then in management roles mainly, and then he went down to co-found Doodlage. Over to you, Paras.
Right.
Maybe you can, if you can focus on a few things like how the idea of Doodlage has come up, and how did you, as in why are they priced high? What is the logic behind it? I think that will help our entrepreneurs, the aspiring entrepreneurs, to read through you.
Sure. Thank you so much, Ashank, and Headstart for inviting me over. Very good evening to everyone who's joined in. Just to tell you why, I completely resonate with both the things that Bindu and Isha said, and somewhere down the line, obviously these are the thoughts on which we've built Doodlage, right? That's the whole point of it, that you should not mindlessly consume things just because they're available to you at a throwaway price. So before I go to Doodlage, just want to point out on how big the textile and apparel sector is. Just on some numbers point of view, it's close to the textile and apparel contributes close to around $150 billion of as a revenue to the country. It's contributes around 12 to 15% of the exports that we do. So predominantly, it's very important as a sector for us to be in. Now, when we started Doodlage, we saw there were two problems that were happening in this consumption that is taking place across, I would not say just in our country, but across the globe. One was at the pre-consumer level, and the other one has a post-consumer level. So the pre-consumer level, it was very simple for us to see that, India being a production-oriented country, there's so much of production that's happening in this part of the world. Somebody else is paying the price for it, and that is our natural resource bank, right? Because nobody was looking at the actual environmental cost that it is costing us on using these many resources. At the same time, there was so much of wastages and discards, which is anyways, for any production process to happen, on any operation line to work, there are a certain element of wastages that always incur. In case of textiles and apparels, it was close to 15%, which was straight away in a linear system, which could go up to as high as 20-25%, in an inefficient system. So we thought, like, let's take that as an opportunity. Let's create something out of that wastage, discards, or throwaway fabric, whatever they call it. Could be print rejects, could be rusted fabric, anything. And because already there were so many resources that were allocated to make that fabric. And while making something meaningful out of this discarded fabric, we should also keep in mind the value chain that is involved in this. And that was a very simple idea on starting Doodlage. When we started, the primary challenge that we faced was, how do we sell this? Like, how do we educate the consumer? Because we're talking about a relatively new term, upcycling, recycling, which had been predominantly practiced by people before, but in various different levels. Like, and for us, the other thing that came into existence, like, while selling, you also have to educate the client on doing, how can you increase the life of your garments? How can you do simple hacks at home to practice sustainability? The other problem that obviously existed was post-consumer, which is, we are still at the wave of that consumerism, And as I said, as a sector, it's very important in the overall growth of our country. I'm not really sure that that can change overnight, but it's a slow change. Now, post-consumer, apparel wastages has still not hit us really hard. It will come to a level, when the impact will be shown directly in our lives. As of now, there's no clear infrastructure. Nobody knows what to do, with the consumer garments. All the studies that you would see online are about numbers in Europe or US, because they've already gone through that wave of consumerism and now are slowing down and looking at other aspects. Obviously, while consuming, there will be a certain sector which will shift. There will be a certain sector which will aspire to shift, and then there will be a certain sector which will not even be bothered till the late end. And that's how the reality of this journey is. So post-consumer, we are still working on initial things. On pre-consumer, as I said, we just take these discards, make garments out of them. Whatever is left over, we try to recycle them into smaller accessories. Even while doing those recycling into accessories, if there is some amount of katran left, we've started making paper out of it that we use for our stationery or packaging. The whole idea is that somebody who buys into a Doodlage understands the various aspects on how the value chain is being benefited. Why are we using that paper made of fabric? Like, paper is easily available, right? But that's a step to educate these clients. While doing all of these processes, we keep on organizing workshops. We do swap events, we do thrift secondhand shopping weeks, where we, and this is more on the sides of educating. This is not a revenue generation thing for us now. Like, the primary source of money that we make is obviously by selling the garments. That's a clear cut thing where we do. And we have seen that shift in the mindset now. Like 5 years back, people used to tell us, "Ki, no, अच्छे styles हैं. Why are you messing it up? क्यों waste बोलते हो तो लोग खरीदेंगे थोड़ी? Remove the waste and make normal clothes. बिकेंगे, बहुत अच्छा सेल होंगे, अच्छे styles हैं, because these are the styles that people look at. Anything which is which appeals to a Western audience as well as Indian audience." And now there are conversations where people call us to tell us that how can we be a part of this ecosystem that you're creating, because that community is growing. People like Isha, people like Bindu, people like Prateek, they've grown that community in a way that it started people around us. Like, we see this shift happening in our families, and which is something, again, the thoughts that were coming from people outside were very similar to the thoughts that were coming from people around us. That why recycling? Why not buy simple fabric and make things? Now, answering your second question. So this has been the the journey for Doodlage till now. The second question that you had asked was about the price factor. Often sustainability is considered to be luxury, right? Which predominantly anything would be if it's operating at like a minuscule scale of 0.00001% of the total of consumption that you're doing, right? For the price of the garment will obviously be inversely proportional to the consumption that you're, or the number of orders you're doing. Having said that, as a structure, it is meant to be, since we are an export oriented country in apparels, there are certain limitations to this production system, which is changing slowly, and the more the demand increases, obviously we would also have the prices of the other commodities that we're consuming would become lesser. For a scale, you could just understand that I make 500 t-shirts in a year. Any other brand would make like 50,000 or 500,000 or maybe more to get to that cost. Since we started from zero and did not have any baggage around it, so we are working towards making it affordable. But as I said, we don't want it to be another fast fashion thing that is existing. Like, people should invest into a brand which they would want to wear, which they would want to cherish. And that was the whole idea of starting this. That this is not only social. This is about a behavior change that you'll get into into your lives. And when we started, the average pricing was close to 8,500, somewhere to the north of 8,500. We have got it down to something as low as 4,500 for now. The target market that we are still looking at is the premium and the mass premium. Again, for numbers, around 46% of the overall market size, around 40% of the overall market size is branded apparel, and out of that 40%, there is around 46% which is premium and above. The other ones are mass and super mass segments. So we're still communicating with that kind of an audience, where we feel that if we are able to make this accessible more than affordable, our half of the job is done, while we're also working on things to make the price to get down the price. And that's very simple as to the economies of scale. How would you achieve it? How many numbers would you do to get it down? My consumption would be, as I said, 5,000 t-shirts to 500 t-shirts versus 500,000 t-shirts. So that's where the difference is. Yeah.
Right, so Paras, before I get to Prateek, there is one question that I have to ask you.
Yeah.
Do you plan to raise funds, or do you want to just be a bootstrapped company? Because at least I didn't see you raising funds online. I am not sure if you have raised
that could
funds.
also mean that people are not accepting the fact of sustainable fashion. So interesting question, actually. So we pre-COVID, we tried raising money for like almost 5 months or 6 months. While we were in the process, there were very interesting discussions happening. Some of them were very, there have been instances when me and Kriti have been pitching, and this is a very one-sided conversation. Nobody cares. Again, to the same question, why sustainability? Why not? Why aren't you making 100,000 pieces and getting the t-shirt prices down to 400 rupees? Because that's not what we want to do. So you have to find those kind of people who, resonate that thought and want to grow organically with you. On the other side, COVID had been, in a way, had come to a point where a transition happened in the business distribution model for us. So we were 80% offline and 20% online before COVID, and we were trying to make that shift happening. But due to COVID, it shifted. It was a forced shift, and it happened for good. Suddenly, during that time, we also started getting a lot of B2B orders. So we've done collaboration orders with things like Fab India, Decathlon. We've just done an order for a very mass but liquor manufacturer who wanted to replace the canister with a fabric-based packaging. So and this was like the impact was huge. This was 100,000 pieces. So all our energies from 20 till now, 2021 mid or end, towards the end now, have been on the B2B side of it, while obviously expanding the D2C organically, how it's going. We would be, looking at raising funds soon. But as I said, we would still want to make it more like strategic, in a way that, somebody who comes on board buys into the vision, not just the numbers. So that's where it's been. But as of now, it's been, you rightly said, it's been bootstrapped till now. And and the stuff.
So, right, thanks. So we'll move to Prateek. Prateek, so Prateek has been a serial entrepreneur. So this is 3 tech companies, if I'm not wrong, 3 tech startups before, and now he is on to build something sustainable. And I think after the apparel segment, it is also, I'm pretty sure cosmetic segment and apparel segment, they compete neck to neck. So over to you, Prateek.
Thanks, Shashank. Thanks for the intro. Let me tell you guys a little bit about what we do here. So Restore is a marketplace that we've built to try and eliminate packaging waste. And essentially today, the goal was today, anything you buy comes in some sort of packaging. So whether it's a shampoo bottle, whether it's like orange juice, whether it's milk, anything comes in some sort of packaging. And once you're done with it, what do? You can throw it away. We have a single waste stream today. So unless you kind of take the effort to go to a kabadi wala or something, it goes into the landfill, where it may or may not be recycled. If it does get recycled, a lot of it today is downcycling, where a plastic bottle, a PET bottle becomes polyester. the HTP becomes, benches and those sort of things, or granules. And so, you can recycle it maybe once, twice, thrice, and then it kind of keeps degrading in quality. And as initially when I started, I was talking to all the, as for research, I was talking to all the kabadi walas and saying, maybe there's can I provide you with some technology which will help, increase the demand for these goods, or what are your real challenges? And, that's when it sort of dawned on me that we really cannot rely on recycling alone to solve this entire problem. We definitely need recycling, and it's not an either or, don't get me wrong. But today, the sort of infrastructure for recycling is stretched thin, and it's primarily an economics problem, where the cost of what you get after you recycle it, plus all the logistics and separation and all of that, the end value is a lot less than sort of the input value. Like, it's cheaper to get a new plastic bottle than to buy a recycled plastic one, right? And that's when it sort of struck me that why are we even throwing away all of this in the first place? These bottles, these containers are perfectly good. And what happened to sort of the old dabba wala milkman system? And that's sort of, the inception of the idea that, hey, why not take the old Coke bottles that we used to refill, the beer bottles, the milk bottles, and bring it into the digital age with e-commerce and connectivity. And that's exactly what we've done. We've built an online place where brands come to us, and we a lot of times redesign their packaging. And right from cosmetics brands, shampoo, conditioners, body wash, to even home care products like floor cleaners, laundry detergents, dishwash, etc. We move them to sort of a packaging that will last. So it could be steel containers, aluminum bottles. And once customers can come to our website, place an order with us, they pay a separate deposit for the bottle. Once they use what's inside, they can either return the bottle back to us and get their deposit money back, or we can, keep refilling it and exchanging it and keep it in the ecosystem. So that's sort of kind of what we've achieved right now. And, we've launched with about 7 brands and 25, 30 different products. And the goal is, we see this expanding to multiple different categories. Just, why just cosmetics? We can see it for food. One of the biggest polluters today is actually milk packets. Why not? You can have that, distribute that in the glass bottles. And one of the key things for us is, we managed to maintain price parity. So today, anything you order will be available, at the same or lower price, because now you're no longer paying for the packaging. The deposit, that's separate. Sometimes if you move from plastic to stainless steel, you might pay a bit more initially, but the price of the product itself has now come down. So I think that's the 2 things we focused on, which is, making it super, super convenient. It's, we come to your house and we pick up the empties, and you can just do refills on WhatsApp also. And secondly, by making it affordable, we want to make this as broadly appealing as possible.
Right, Prateek. So cosmetics is one thing, which has a very large market share offline, right? So, and as far as I can envision, your product is mainly feasible if customers come back and order online, right? So I'm pretty sure COVID would have helped you, get that shift. But what do you think? Where do you think it'll be headed? Post COVID now, I think now the market is coming back to what normalcy is. I see that all this maybe supermarkets or the boutique cosmetic sellers, so they might be your competitors. So how do you see yourself going forward?
Good question. I think for us, growth is we see ourselves more as sort of a logistics company. One of the key things for us to actually figure out was collecting the bottles back, and how do you do that without incurring additional costs. So we actually run the logistics ourselves. Like, we have a van that goes around and picks up and drops off at the same time. So it's like a hyper-local model where we're only available in Bombay today. And that reduces our carbon footprint, that reduces the cost, everything. To your question of, how do we expand and how do we make this available both sort of in other cities as well as, offline. So I think that kind of goes hand in hand. There are multiple sort of retailers that you can work with. You can have pick up and drop off locations in at physical outlets, and then we know customers can just drop off the bottle there. They can pick up the bottle from there, or they can request the pickup online. But it still requires us to expand our operations city by city, and that's sort of our main focus for the next 3 to 9 months, where we want to perfect this model in one city and then sort of start expanding to different locations.
Thanks, Prateek. So there is one question from the attendees. Hello everyone, I'm working on my startup in agro-tourism, sustainable tourism space. My question is, how can sustainable fashion brands contribute to promote sustainable tourism? For us, Prateek, Isha, anybody of you who wants to take up this? Prateek, do you want to answer this?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Paras you're answering.
Yeah, sorry. So I thought Prateek was answering. You said how can sustainable brands contribute to sustainable tourism, right? So I was attending a very in the past I was attending this seminar, and where this same discussion was happening on where are we investing our money on, and as a culture, it has always been around, like, what was tourism, like what is Rajasthan known for, what is these various art forms that you get around the country, they have always been predominantly leading the way for tourism, for people to come and explore within India, from outside India. And someone said that you should invest even as a stakeholder, not on the artist but on the art. So the day we start doing these things at scale, and things like maybe block printing, for that matter, or these clusters that exist in Himachal, this day you start putting money in actual these are the actual things that are happening on ground. It'll obviously grow in sync with the these brands will grow in sync with the overall tourism that's been existing. And as a culture, we are blessed to be that rich, right? We take it for granted, but actually we like every 100 kilometers you find something different happening, right? Right now I'm sitting in Gurgaon. Just move 50 minutes from Gurgaon, you'll enter Rajasthan, where there's a different vibe altogether. There's so much happening in art, in culture. So that is what comes to my mind, at least, that we should start investing in the art rather than the artist for now. So there will be two things, as an outcome. One, obviously, it will save it, because a lot of things are on the verge of becoming non-existence. And at the other hand, obviously, it'll promote the local overall infrastructure of what has been happening, how the situation has been. And trust me, it's not great when we go to these these clusters, these things down south to up north. There are real challenges that are happening.
Thanks, Paras. So my next question will be to Isha. Now, see, there are a lot of fast fashion brands which call themselves sustainable, or one of their lineup is sustainable. Again, we cannot, obviously the claims cannot be verified, or at least I didn't verify the claims. Now, when these fast fashion brands list their products in 40-50% discounted rates, how do one resist not buying more, right?
Okay. So as you said, there's a lot of greenwashing going around at this moment. And I was in India last week. I was there for about a month and a half. And I'm basically from NIFT Gandhinagar. I'm a graduate of accessory design, and I have a lot of friends from fashion. So I met a lot of my friends from college, and sustainability has become a part of everyday conversations for almost everybody at this moment, at least people who are into lifestyle and fashion. Everybody is talking about sustainability, but actually nobody really knows what it means, and everybody is sort of trying to catch on the trend. And so everybody was talking about it, and I was roaming around this mall in Gurgaon, and Ambience Mall. I was meeting someone over there, and I saw that in the Super Dry store there was a huge board which said organic cotton. And just out of curiosity, I don't buy from any of these places, but just out of curiosity, I entered the store and there was this salesperson there, and I asked this person, okay, so what exactly, where exactly is your organic cotton stock? I'd like to see it. So this person says that, so everything in the store is organic cotton. I said, all right, can you show me a product which has a tag that says that this is certified organic cotton? So he was like, okay, yeah, I'll just show you something. And he kept looking for it in his entire women's section and he couldn't find a tag. He said, oh, actually, these are not organic cotton. So we have something in the men's section. So I said, okay, please show me that then. And he went there and then he just pulled out a t-shirt which said organic cotton, but it had no certification, nothing, no specifications. Imagine a brand like Superdry doing this. You know, they are a huge, huge brand. This is completely fooling and misleading their customers, and this is in fact, you know, all these brands are doing it now. Zara claims that, you know, we are using 50% less water in the process of manufacturing, and if you read their fine print somewhere, it will be written that only in the dyeing process and only in this certain process we have reduced water, not in the overall production. So I think the only way to resist from buying, because I haven't shopped for anything for the past year and a half now, and even before that, like when I shopped last was for handloom and nothing else. So I just say that it becomes a lot about keeping yourself in love with your clothes. What happens is that we end up shopping not because we need clothes, it's because we are bored of what we have. So the whole idea is to keep reinventing your wardrobe, and how you do that is to shop your closet, to go and pick up, like I wear saris, so I can give that example, that if you have a sari which it can go with so many blouses, so you don't have to wear the same combination every time, you just have to change it. With saris, there is more scope for sustainability, because if you are bored of a sari, you can turn it into cords, you can turn it into a kurta pajama set, you can just, you know, drape it in a different way, because there are so many different ways of draping a sari, and each time you drape it differently, it looks different. So those are the ways of doing it, and to ensure that you keep doing this, it's important to invest in clothes that are inherently versatile. So if you pick up a sari that you know is going to go with 10 other blouses, and of course keeping an account of what you already have, and if in your mind you can make those matches, pick up something that you know will go with. So same goes with shirts and trousers, maybe, that if you know that a certain shirt is of a color or of a pattern that is going to go with 10 lowers that you have, then that mix and match and sort of restyling and rewearing your clothes is going to keep that boredom away. But other than that, there is no other way but to control yourself, because you know that, you know, you're burning your money and you're giving it to something which is really not helping anyone. So if somebody feels that they're really they have this urge to buy, then, you know, I advise them that they keep like a money box, like an old traditional gullak that we used to call, you know, in Hindi. And whatever money you were going to spend on that fast fashion store, just put it in that gullak, and when you feel that, you know, it's full, break it and then go buy something which is from an indie brand, or from a handloom, or from, you know, somebody who deserves that kind of patronage. So I guess that's what I say. But other than that, it's really about controlling yourself, and maybe, you know, reminding yourself again and again that, you know, they are polluting, these people, the way they are manufacturing clothes, they are polluting rivers in Bangladesh and you know, Malaysia. They are not paying their workers enough, and so on and so forth. You have to keep reminding yourself those things. Also, just to add to this question that was asked, and Paras actually answered it very well, that Rajasthan is doing this so well, because there, I've seen that when people, especially when they're traveling in India, they really want to shop for local products and for local crafts. So if people who are into tourism and people who run resorts and hotels and such, you know, facilities, or they are into designing tour packages, if they can design these tour packages in such a way that people who are visiting these places can visit the artisans and see them at work. Last time I was in Jaipur, I actually went to the Anokhi Museum, and I thought it was such a lovely place because, Paras mentioned block prints. It was so amazing because the museum is beautiful, it's beautifully maintained, and on the terrace they have craftsmen working live. So they have people from the Chipa community who are doing the block printing live. And I'm from Lucknow. I so wish that I could do something like that for chikankari in Lucknow. If people could really go visit a place where they could see and understand the craft, and they could buy from the artisans directly, or they could see them at work, it would be amazing. And also, like you were in the beginning, you were saying that if people are going to shop less, then how are the businesses going to thrive? How are they going to meet their numbers, etc.? So I think that right now, people who are shopping for crafts and people who are shopping for sustainability, their sustainable clothes, their percentage is really low. We need to expand on that. If sustainable brands can reach out to more and more people who are still consuming fast fashion, then we'll be able to do those numbers. Because right now what happens is that like I am online, and people know that I buy handloom. There are 100 handloom weavers who get in touch with me every day. Please buy from us. How much can I buy alone? So somewhere, and here is where the hotels, the airports, all these people can come into action, because they can clothe their staff in these clothes. They can make sure that their furnishings, their beddings, their linen, all of it comes from sustainable brands and handloom weavers or artisans. Imagine if all these big institutions, hotels are huge, they have so many rooms, if they can actually give patronage to our artisans and to sustainable brands, then it'll just change the things completely. And that is how tourism and sustainability will also go hand in hand.
Thank you, Isha. Bindu, my last question will be to you, and then if there are any questions from the audience, we'll take that. If not, we'll wind up the session. So now that you run a community of a few startup enthusiasts, I'm pretty sure you also will be looking forward to grow the community. You also want to speak to more like-minded people, connect to more like-minded people. How do you plan to do that? Like on the other side, Isha is saying that Isha says posting a lot of content itself is not sustainable, right? And one way to reach out to your audience is posting content, right? So your thoughts, please.
So the community right now we are working is called the tribes. So basically, what we do is to gather a like-minded people, and the people who wants to start a sustainable journey or the sustainable lifestyle changes in their life would be added to a group, and we usually talk about sustainability as well as the climate change through webinars, seminars, and by creating few activities. And our main focus would be mostly delivering the content so that people get the awareness about the sustainability, and they can shift from the normal lifestyle to the sustainable lifestyle. So in the future, it helps in the long term. It helps to the planet Earth as well as the climate change. So our main focus is posting the content. That's what I can say. So without getting or telling the people or making them aware about the things, it is not going to possible.
But I guess there is one situation here, there is a lot of information overload.
Yeah.
So how do we filter through that? Now, let us say, I'm part of your group, I'm part of 2 or 3 family groups, my mother's side, my father's side, cousins group. And apart from that, you have so many things happening on your, there is some, even other businesses have started sending out notifications, especially the trading startups. Now, information overload is one big thing. Now, in that, you might end up losing your voice. So I don't know, that is a challenge which we other startups also, as in we as startups have to figure out. And apart from that, you as a, leader of a certain community will have to figure that out. But if there are any questions from the audience, we can take. If not, I will conclude. I have some remarks and then we can conclude. Cool. So no questions from the audience, but one question I have for Prateek. Prateek, how did the shift happen from tech to this? As in, and I happened to read on your website that, or on LinkedIn, I don't remember, that you're using AI to kind of sort of encounter this issue. As in, what is the role of AI here? How did you, what is the whole thing about?
So yeah, I mean, I'd like to believe I'm probably still in the technology space to a certain extent. And I mean, sort of everything we do is sort of maybe not core technology, but not technology enabled, right? It's not possible without technology. So a couple of things. One is, you know, all the refills that you do, we do them over WhatsApp. It's partially automated. We use like a little chat bot there to sort of see when people's bottles are over, when they want to return it, when they want to refill it. We use like a routing algorithm to check, you know, what is the most efficient way to pick up and drop off all the bottles. So it's and then obviously it's an e-commerce store and it's an online business in itself, so there is that element of technology there. So I would say it's technology enabled. It's not pure sort of technology business for sure. And it's, I guess I kind of came from that mindset that let me take my skill set to this space. Like I want to apply technology to the space where it's possibly underrepresented. Everyone's kind of building edtech apps and a lot of other things, but no one's thinking about let me sort of try and, or there are a set of people who think, let me try and solve climate change and let me try and solve these other problems with technology as well, right? So that's kind of the mindset I started this with.
Really sorry, there are a few questions I didn't look at. Prerna Nataraj, she says, I'm reading the question, love the market percentages that Paras was speaking about when it comes to premium and luxury niche markets. Could you talk about it a bit more on which category sustainable brands should target?
Sorry. So, so it's a very, as a community, it's a very top to bottom approach that, we follow as individuals. What Isha rightly mentioned, that this is not about changing somebody's individual, choices for now. This is about a behavior change that is happening. So as a brand, you should see the problem that you are solving and then decide on the area. We, as Doodlage, went for a market which was premium or mass premium for a simple reason that we felt that it's easier to communicate with that segment for now. Those are the people like us, who are doing it. And what Prateek was saying, so even now we feel that a best way to scale a sustainable startup would be, like the most efficient way would be if you're using technology for good. If you're not using it, if you're doing it in your own zone, it's not helping anyone. So I might be sitting, somewhere in, say, Assam and doing my stuff and doing like a shop or recycling things. But if I'm not using tech, it's not helping to reach the right audience. To answer Prerna's question, as I said, so it's a brand call, like, where you want to target it. But what we have seen that the information always flows from top to bottom. So there would be, the NCR people or the metro people who are adapting to these changes. Now we have a lot of interest coming in from tier 1 cities, flowing to tier 2 cities. We have done events in, places that we never thought we would go, and do events to educate people and to sell. Obviously, it's not like, while selling, we educate people on when they buy into a Doodlage product and that ecosystem of a sustainable lifestyle, because we're also not restricting ourselves just to garments. So we're in the process of launching a 100% recycled shoe. So that will be a very different category. But the essence of that category would also come from the people that we are, looking at and targeting to. We are doing soaps, and that's a very easy like product for somebody to adopt, because we need to buy into that mindset of people where they at least they make one switch, because then they'll have to switch somewhere to get into that whole idea of living a sustainable life. And that could be anything. Like, I don't know, we don't force people to buy our garments. Like, that's okay. If you don't like the style, don't buy. That's okay. But if you want to maybe shift your stationery lines, why not? If you want to use our soaps, why not? So we are targeting that lifestyle space. And as I said, the only reason that we were looking at this audience, because this is much more informed, much more addressable, and they listen to what you're saying, and then react to it as well.
Thanks, Paresh. So there's another question from Ritik Srivastava. He says, so he's from company Recytech, and we are making ready-to-use nitrogenous fertilizers made out of human hair waste. My question: how can we position this sustainable product in this market? Basically, wants to know how can we position this product. The product is nitrogenous fertilizer made out of human hair waste. So I am not sure what human hair waste is. If somebody from the panel wants to answer this, please.
One piece of advice I would have is, just while sustainability is one part of the messaging, it's not necessarily should not be your entire message. So, for example, people are not going to buy your fertilizer just because it's made from human hair and it's a waste product and because it's sustainable. People will still buy it because it's the best fertilizer out there. It is amazing, and because it's made from human hair, so it's got so many better properties, etc., etc., and how it compares to regular waste, and all the other things matter just as much. So, focus on your product and don't lose sight of that, and then sustainability becomes a bit of a kicker at the end of it. So when we sort of try and sell, we still talk about how amazing our products are, which is the body wash is really great, the shampoo smells fantastic, it's great for your hair, and then it becomes a much easier decision because additionally it is completely waste free. But no one's going to buy an inferior product just because it's sustainable.
Thanks, Prateek. So the other question is, how two words or ideas, startup and sustainability, go hand in hand? Both seem very contradictory, like capitalism and sustainability. So anybody wants to take this up?
Sorry, could you please repeat it?
The question is, how two words, ideas, startup and sustainability go hand in hand? So basically, the anonymous attendees asking, startup is, when you say startup, it's for a scale, scale, and sustainability is talking about consuming less. So, how do you club those both, or where do you find the intersection?
So
maybe
there have been, so again, sustainability, as somebody pointed out, I think Isha was mentioning that it's like, again, and what Prateek said, it's being used again and again, but it's not the essence of this discussion that we're having. It's just like, it's such an umbrella term. For you, sustainability could mean just repeating your closet. For somebody else, it could just mean just recycling. For me, it could mean buying secondhand. I've just bought into that idea of buying secondhand clothing or swapping. So it's very different for everyone. Now there have been proven examples that sustainability and startups can exist. If you look at the the Western countries, and again, I'm not saying just get inspired by them. There have been case studies which have been proved right. Things like ThreadUp or the Real have got listed on New York Stock Exchange while promoting secondhand clothing. There are things like Reformation who are actually looking at solving a problem. What Prateek is doing here is very using tech for the best to solve it. And as I say, any sustainable startup would not be functionally efficient if they're not using tech into it, right? So it has to coexist in a way. Now, and also scale is a very much used term in the capitalist world, but a scale for everyone could be very different. Somebody doing 100 crores is also happy doing 100 crores. They don't have to be a $1 billion company every time, right? And it's up to you how you want to scale it up. There have been, if we see the rise of D2C that's happening around us, like every day there is at least 2 or 3 companies which are working on the Therapy model just to scale up the D2C brands that are existing. And thoda to destruction hoga, but for long it'll get aligned, because some things will work, something won't work. But for the interest of for the interest of the coming generation, it will get aligned. And I think it's somewhere they surely can coexist. It's about the vision of what you were looking at, and if the if the people who are investing into you are also of the same vision. And there are tons of startups which are doing it. Like, I can answer that question on an email if they want references as well.
Thanks, Paras. So I'll just conclude the session. And if I have to, there are a few takeaways from the whole session. Some of them I just wrote them down. One thing is, to go sustainable, or one of the sustainable practices is to consume less. Like what Bindu was pointing out, to buy something which is durable, or any brand which is practicing a certain fair trade, or have a certain value chain lined up, right? And in the whole process, maybe on the other side, the businesses also have to practice restraint, like how Paras was telling. A scale, for a sustainable brand, scale might not be $1 billion valuation, but maybe something else. And I mean, that number is yet to be defined by the VC world. And yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you to all the panelists, and thank you, Shashank, for moderating it so beautifully. I think this was, for me, very interesting. Something which I do not really, hear in the startup world. So this was definitely a different session, and all the questions were so interesting, and the answers were very useful. I'm sure there were a lot of takeaways. And yes, I hope to have more such sessions on this topic. I think it needs to be, more out there. So thanks a lot for joining us today. And yeah, hopefully we'll meet again. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thanks everyone. Thanks for having me.